Welcome to Thursfield's Talk Legal, a vidcast series from one of the leading law firms in the Midlands. I'm Steve Dyson, a journalist who's talking to a range of solicitors here at Thursfield's on legal topics of wide interest to the public or businesses. Today's episode is all about planning the future of your business, safeguarding growth and succession. And joining me online to discuss this is Philip Chapman, a director in the corporate and commercial department here at Thursfield's. Hello to you, Philip.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for inviting me to your session.
No problems at all, Philip. We're here to talk about people planning the future of their business. Now, owning your own company is so different to being employed, of course. So much is at stakes in terms of income, revenue, eventual retirement even. And as the owner, this is very much in your own hands. With all that in mind, what are the legal steps you need to take to plan your business future?
Yeah, so we'd start off with what we call safeguarding the business. And this often is particularly important to start-up businesses. So you're setting the groundwork for the business. We split it into the business, the contracts per se, and the ownership of the business. So in terms of contracts, you're looking at getting your tight terms and conditions in place so that you have strong payment terms, limitation of your liability, things like that. So you've got your standard terms and conditions. You might be a supplier, so you'll have your supplier contracts in place. You'll often have a website as well, which will require terms and conditions of use of the website, its cookies, privacy policies, GDPR, things like that. And then separately, you've got the ownership of the business. So you might have one or more than one shareholder in the limited company that you're owning. So you'll need a shareholders agreement to formalise the relationship between the shareholders. And that would involve agreeing matters that require the consent of the shareholders, for example, changing the name, changing the constitution, things like that. It will also have a dividend policy. So you agree between the shareholders what dividend you're going to pay, and also agreeing what happens when, for example, one of the shareholders wants to leave or sell their shares. Also, as part of the ownership safeguarding process, we look at the constitution of the company to make sure that its articles of association are correct and in line with current legislation.
All that makes sense, Philip. Obviously, your business faces all sorts of risks if it's not existing on the right legal basis or if you haven't got the ownership sorted. But once you've done all that and the business is as secure as it can be, what's next for planning the future?
So this is the growth phase of the business. So here you're looking to where you've reached a stage in the business's life cycle whereby it might need an injection of capital. And there's all sorts of sources that you can look for. So the obvious one would be the sort of high street bank, but you also might look to business angels or investors or even the management of the company or its shareholders. So if you have, say, an investor coming in, they will want to have a say as to how the company is run. They'll want to have a vote. They'll want to have some form of joint venture shareholders agreement in place so that they can protect both their interests and yours as well. You'll have an investment agreement to formalise the investment that the investor is putting in. And similarly, they'll want to have some form of security for their money. That will often take the form of what we call a debenture, which can often be a charge over the assets of the company. It might be a personal guarantee of the current shareholders and directors of the company. You might also look to high street banks or some of the more niche banks to obtain a loan for the company. And again, that bank will want a loan agreement to be put in place, which will reflect the terms of the repayment of the loan and also security over the money that they're lending to you. It's quite poignant at the moment in terms of what's happened over the pandemic period, where companies are getting government loans, which is fine, but they also need to consider that at some stage those loans will become repayable, and the business needs to be in a position to be able to repay them. You'll also look to having injection of capital from other shareholders. And again, the same principles will apply, whereby it might be a director's loan, etc.
And assuming this growth is all successful, I guess the long-term goal for any business owner will eventually be their own financial security for retirement. So what's important to consider in preparation for that stage?
Yeah, so it's important to think about these sort of things in terms of who are you looking to take over the company when you have reached the stage in your career where you're looking to sell. So that might be via the senior management of the company, in which case you might wish to offer them an option to purchase shares in the company and to build up ownership in the company over a period of time. And that would give them an incentive to help grow the company, thereby securing their own future. You might look to prepare the company for sale to a third party, in which case you would want to, as I referred to earlier, have all of your contracts properly in place, make sure that the business is in good health, because that third party will carry out due diligence into your company to make sure that they're not taking on any skeletons. That third party buyer will often pay a lump sum upfront on completion of the transfer of your shares, and a deferred element of the purchase price. So there's all these sort of areas to think about when you're looking to sell to a third party.
Listening to you as a business owner myself, Philip, it all seems a safe, sound and secure thing to have those three stages in mind from the beginning, both the safeguarding and growth elements, but then that latter succession stage as well. After all, business owners are the bosses and we're in control of our own destinies, aren't we?
Yeah, I think that's right. And if we split it into the three areas, you've got safeguarding, growth and succession. And the key message in terms of safeguarding is that if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So put all your building blocks in place at the beginning. Secondly, in terms of growth, keep the management on side so that when you're ready to sort of sell in terms of your succession planning, you've got a plan in place and people who are willing and capable of buying your company. And then when you are selling, there's various other things to think about. If you're a private company, quite often you won't have a pension. So the eventual sale of your company forms your pension. So it's important that you extract as much value out of the eventual sale as possible. And then there will obviously be tax considerations, one of which will be entrepreneurs' relief, in which you can obtain reduced tax for value of less than $1 million. I think you pay 10% tax. Obviously, you'd need to take tax advice when it comes to the sale of your business, but it's one element to think about.
Philip Chapman, a director in the corporate and commercial department at Thursfields, many thanks for joining us on Thursfields Talk Legal.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Hopefully what Philip had to say about planning the future of your business is something that business owners will find useful. And if anyone wants any further advice, after this webinar, Philip is available on 0121 227 3879 or at pchapman@thursfields.co.uk. We'll be back soon to talk to more legal experts here at Thursfields about other interesting aspects of the legal world. Thursfields Talk Legal. Thanks for listening.